Hello friends, welcome back to Palmetto Springs, my tropical theme park I'm creating in Planet Coaster 2. In the last episode, we worked on setting up the parking lot and we began working on the entry plaza. Today, I'm working on creating a staff building, a lovely reflection pool to greet guests as they walk to the park, and I'm also updating the interior of my Welcome Center building and adding foliage around this entry plaza. I'm so glad you've joined me today. Let's get started. I'm starting off the episode by working on some of the buildings that I created in the last episode and just adding in some more detailing to them so they look a little more finished. These ticket booths were the last thing that I built, and they definitely were unfinished at the time, so I want to make sure I'm going back and have a complete look to them. So I'm going to add in some windows, and I'm also adding in a door to the back, so theoretically staff can get in and out of the building. Because the door is it's sticking to the brick on the bottom, which isn't aligned to the wall, which is, that's purposeful. It's kind of a design. I decided to just copy the door, I think 3 times, to just kind of make it appear like it's thicker than it is. So then I'm just adding in a wall decal vent, just to kind of make it seem like there's some airflow in this building. And I'm just going to copy this building over and place a duplicate on the other side of my plaza. For this building facade, there is nothing's going to actually be in this building. It's just going to look like a building, and instead of there being vending machines, that was originally what I was planning on putting in this building, I'm going to call this the security first aid building. So I'm going to add in some doors. So this would be where guests could go if they had an issue, or they need to speak to security, or they need to see a nurse. I just think that this is just something that kind of adds a little bit of realism to your park. It's not something that really comes with the game, which I feel like you would think they would have, like a little first aid sign or a security sign, but they don't. And that is one thing that I did notice, that is a big difference between Planet Coaster 2 versus Planet Coaster 1 is Planet Coaster 1 you have security cameras. So far in Planet Coaster 2 we don't have that, and that wasn't something that I really used a lot. Sometimes I would put cameras in, but it wasn't anything that I felt really needed to be in my parks. But if you're really looking for that realistic look, you may want to have some security cameras, and I hope that they do put them back into the game, but I really don't know. I haven't been keeping up with the with the updates that Frontier has been putting out. So now I'm moving on to my welcome center. I just wanted to add in some eaves to kind of complete the roof. I just felt like it needed something, like I thought something was missing, and this was what it was. So I'm adding in these eaves, and that really kind of, I think that really makes the building look like it's finished. Now I'm going to move on to adding foliage. So I'm a firm believer that foliage really is what can make your park come to life. It's not just about the roller coasters and the rides, it's really about how your park feels. And I feel like as you're building your theme park, that's one question that you should consider is how does it feel? My parks that I created in Planet Coaster 1, often I preferred them as evening parks. I just really like how the lighting looks in the game at sunset. It just gives the park kind of a softer feel to it. You don't have like these harsh shadows that you do during daylight hours. And I haven't played around too much with lighting and the sunset in Planet Coaster 2, but I will definitely see what my park looks like in the evening to make sure it's well lit. This this aspect of the video I sped up to 4 times because I did spend quite a lot of time like trying to pick out plants and what I was going to do, and I don't want to like spend a ton of time on this, but this probably took me like 10 or 15 minutes to do this. But so I don't have a ton of tips on how to add foliage to your park. It's really up to you how you want to balance that out. But for the most part, I like to combine trees, bushes, and shrubs in one area. And I will mix tall and short pieces. And usually I start with big items like trees first, and then I'll add the shorter bits afterwards. So I might have like a tall tree and then add a shorter tree and then work my way down to the bushes, flowers, and the shrubs. I personally prefer to not use the default coloring on some of the plant, like the flowers. I try to change the colors, but I mean that's just something that I do. But I think for this park, I mostly chose kind of red colors for the flowers, just because it is a tropical park. And I do add some rocks, but you'll see like for the most part I'm using rocks as like a filler to fill in just those like green spots where you see that kind of fake grass look coming through. What I absolutely love about Planet Coaster 2 is the ability to scale objects. So I definitely used this while I was playing around with this foliage, scaling different trees if it just didn't look right, or if I felt like something was too large or too small. You can change it so easily with that scale feature. It really is I was gonna say a lifesaver or life changer. But I'll just say it's like a really great tool. I think that's probably like my favorite thing about Planet Coaster 2. Now I'm heading back over to work on the interior of this welcome center. I just wanted to add in some panels to the walls to break up all of the gray. So I'm using some freeform shapes and I'm just copying and pasting. The white line at the top, this is just a small coaster support, which probably wasn't the best thing to use since it is a very thick piece, but I end up using it anyway. This was a bit tedious to try to make all of the pieces line up, but overall I think it was worth it to add this extra design detail to the interior of the building. I also add in some signage and then add in some more lighting. But for the most part, once I get all of this done, I consider my welcome center complete. One thing I do hope that they add to Planet Coaster is the ability to add in shop items and to have them be on actual shelves in the store. So in Planet Zoo, you do have the ability to do that, but they have not added this feature in Planet Coasters. So I really hope that they do that, just because it really helps with shops to be able to create actual shelves with stock and items that your guests theoretically could purchase. Since Planet Zoo is a Frontier game, I know that like these Planet Zoo and Planet Coaster are two completely different games, but there are just some things in Planet Zoo that I really wished we had in Planet Coaster, especially when it comes to the building elements and the wall pieces. There are just some really cool wall pieces in Planet Zoo that we don't have in Planet Coaster. And like roof pieces, there's so many like glass pieces. It really is, like, to me, like if when it comes to building, I really would love Planet Zoo items in Planet Coaster. But I know they're two different games. There's two different like teams working on the games, but that's just one thing. I really hope that Planet Coaster kind of steps up when it comes to wall pieces. So once I moved these pieces over, they were like the edges were appearing in the little arch, this opening here. So I decided to add in two archways and just to cover up that part. And I just thought it looked better that way, and I'm okay with not adding the blue stripe on those archways just so it doesn't have that awkwardness on the edge. So now I'm just adding in some signage, and then we'll be done with the welcome center. Now we are heading over to the middle of the plaza where I've already cut out a general rectangle shape to fill in my reflection pool. This is really just a very large body of water. I may add in some water effects to it later on, and I definitely want to add in some railings because this is not a body of water for guests to swim in. It's purely for decoration. So what's cool about this is you do not have to make a perfect shape with your terrain. Just surround it with pathing and then lower the terrain underneath the pathing. Since I've already pushed in the terrain, I'm just using the flatten tool to lower the terrain underneath the pathing, then adding water, and now it looks like a perfect rectangle. For the final segment of this video, we're working on a staff building. It's not the most exciting building to create, but it is vital for staff members to be able to take a break and relax. This building is separate from my other plaza buildings, but I'm trying to make it line up with the others as if it were part of the same grouping. I don't know what made me go with this pale yellow color, but I think it works overall with my cool color palette for the park. Even though this building is just a square, it did take quite a while to design. I had no idea what I wanted to do with it, but whenever I'm building something, I almost always start off with a square. You can make square buildings interesting. All I did for this was I added in some glass, some coaster supports, some windows, some roof trim, and that made it look much more interesting. I'm speeding this part of the video up to 4 times speed just because this part did take me quite a while to get right. I'm mostly using the panel wall, I believe, or yes, the panel wall, and then I believe I used some of the aquatic wall pieces on top for kind of the roofing area, or I guess that teal area. And then I put these coaster supports in to kind of act as support columns. And I really just did that just to add a little more of visual, like something visual for this building, since it is very basic. And it's funny because I started off like for this archway, I started off like trying to use these half width pieces, and then I was gonna like scale it up, and then I was like, wait, I just need to use like a regular wall piece for this. For this. So yeah, yes, this is the aquatic metal piece. That's what it is. So then once I placed those down, I just moved those coaster supports over, and then I just added in the glass. So this area here is glass, and that really was pretty much it. I put in a large staff room in this building, and then I also put in a mechanic workshop in here. Even though this is sandbox, and I'm not playing where my rides will be breaking down, I still wanted to have that represented in the park. So now I've added in my staff facilities, and I covered them up with some wall pieces. I already added in the staff pathing. So now I'm just adding in some lights, and then I'm placing down some floor pieces, and that will cover up the pathing. So you won't see that ugly path anymore. So then after that, I'm adding in some windows to my building, and and then I believe I add in a wall trim. I believe it's a wall trim, because I just felt like something else was missing on the front of this. So the building does look okay, but once I put the roof on, I just thought it really needed some sprucing up. So I put in a roof, and then I decided to take off the teal that was on top, because I just thought it was looking a little too garish for me. So I kept it the yellow color, and then I just added in the roof, and which worked out okay. I played around with some of the colors for quite a while before deciding on, I believe I ended up with just like a normal like brown color, because this like black color just seemed way too dark with the rest of the building. So I believe I ended up with like some sort of brown. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so then it looks good, but I also wanted to cover up that gray stripe from the interior of the roofing. So what I did was I added in this roof trim piece in the middle of the building to cover up that line. And I started off with like this yellow teal, and that just looked terrible, but I ended up changing it to the teal blue all around. And so I think it turned out pretty good, considering this is a square building. So I like how it turned out. So this completes our video for the day. I'm just showing you some nice cinematics of what we've done. In the next episode, we'll be working on a cafe and the park's first few rides. I'll give you a hint. There will be coasters. So as always, thanks so much for joining me on this journey. I'll see you next time.